let us remind ourselves of our big responsibility, what we carry. We don't see this problem from the lens of just from the business standpoint, and I do understand that the audience here are looking for very clear and direct answers to reach the real change and get the job done. But let us remind ourselves of, I would like to start and say, let's be the good grandparents. That's where I'm going to start, okay? Now, if you see this, the 2 degrees is happening in 2050. Now that may look like really a long time, but actually it's not. It's 26 years away. And right now, we may be privileged sitting in this room, not feeling the direct impact of this generational experience or the generational problem. Well, let me give you an example. I was in Dubai a few months back, attending the COP, right? Moving in a massive Mercedes, the most modern version, and going to talk about sustainability among the global leaders. Coming from the hinterland of North India, I always pick up the local experience. Just down the venue, 10 minutes away, I took a basic taxi. I don't want to name the country, but it represents around 1.4 billion of people. And that person telling me, and he was sweating badly in a basic taxi. And I asked him, hey, why are you not switching on your AC? He said, sir, I only switch on my AC when the passengers are there. If I have my dead miles and the AC being on, that takes off my profitability by approximately 5 to 7%. And that's an impact which right now people are facing. And we are not far away. Guys, when I say let's be good grandparents, 26 years down the line, we don't want our grandkids to be telling us, my grandfather was stuck in this reporting problem, and we never focused on bringing the real change, and 95% of every pound being spent is currently wasted. And this is the real number. When I say wasted, yes, we spend that money on deciding what to do, then starting a long IT project, then embarking on the big cycle. As my colleague in the first keynote was telling, it's a hard problem, but that's not a reason to do. And I say it's a hard problem. We need to simplify it and get the job done. And that's where we put a massive investment from the 2 companies coming together. Our American counterparts, Domo, being represented on the back, the colleague standing, and a British company decided to hands together with a very single mission, right? How we can simplify the complex problem and at least save precious amount of money to get the job done and the shortest path and the most comprehensive path. So let me quickly present you the proposition. And before I do that, just one key takeaway you must take from this. This is the first generation which is facing the impact, which is facing the change. And this is the last generation which can actually do something about it. It's not about what we are doing, it's about what we are not doing, and that will define if we stay as a good grandparent or we go in the history of leaving the planet in such a state which probably our future generation would be not too happy about. Now, as you know, the pressure is coming from all the fronts. Now let's get down to the serious business. The pressure is coming down from all the stakeholders or what we call as actors. Investors are pushing the companies, guys, I'm interested in making my share values on the top. And ESG is one of the drivers from the investor standpoint. Then the governments, as my previous colleague talked about, CSRD, CSDDD, then UK is passing TPT version, the local version. Middle East is passing their own regulations. The pressures are coming from all the quarters. What we don't want to do is we defocus ourselves from 2 key things. The passion behind bringing the change and doing the real change. We don't want to get stuck in the complex regulations onto the reporting complexities, the complex structures of the business. As my colleague previously saying, data quality issues. We need to give this problem the best chance, the shortest path. And that is where I'm going to drive you our proposition, where we restructured all of our dreams and all of our resources to get and start tackling this problem. When I was young, I had a dream that I will go to London, being a millionaire, driving a Hummer with a pretty girl. That was the dream which I had. And I fulfilled that in the 4th year of landing this 14 years back. But I was the most stupid person having that dream when I look back. And then I set up a new set of dreams that, okay, I'm going to have a private jet. I think I could not have found the most stupid person than me when I look back. Now the dream is I'm going to go on the London Bridge with this bicycle with 3 women, my 2 daughters and a wife, and that's a new dream, and make the best possible of every investment. That's where the 2 companies came together in the spirit of collaboration to get the job done without wasting too much time. So let me present you the proposition. So if I see the cycle, right, most of the companies, as my colleague was saying, the CEOs have made very bold targets. We're going to go net zero by 2030, 2040, 2050. That was the honeymoon period. Now the reality is starting. Most of your colleagues are looking at now, guys, I'm facing the step 1 problem, the reporting problem. And that's what we call as the step 1 problem. 90% of the project, right, they get stuck in step 1. I can give you example after example, example after example. £100 being spent, only £5 reach to the last funnel. That's the step 1 problem. That's exactly what you guys are also interested in. Guys, how can I get done with the tracking phase, then the change planning, then actually talking about the interventions and get the job done? That's the last step. But that's only 5% coming out of the cycle. When 2 companies sat together, we had a very single mission. We want to reverse the stats from 5% getting stuck to the 90%, and that's where we conceptualize the acceleration kit, the unique execution vehicle. As my colleagues have been saying again and again, this is a very complex problem. This is a very hard problem. And that's the reason not to do it. We say, let us simplify the hard problem. There are 4 key components which we have brought together: the platform, the process, the people, and the alliances. We have a very firm belief it's not a single vendor which is a solution to your decarbonization. If someone is claiming, it's a clear bluff. And that's where we came up with joining the hand mentality and come up with bringing these 4 things together in a very clear and efficient manner. Platform, process, people, to get you the outcomes faster and saving 80% of the time up to. The platform part is highly templatized, which we present you shortly. Then the people element, as one of my colleagues was asking about the culture. That's the most important part. You can buy a piece of tech and you think you can go decarbonize, you can decarbonize. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. The people, the most important part. The process, the frameworks, a very clear direction, very clear direction. We don't want to just start for the sake of starting, thinking it's a hard problem, let's start. That's again being part of the stats, 90% resources getting wasted and only £5 being spent on the actual real change. The alliances part, that's really important. I could recognize few of the alliances which we even representing in this audience. I remember my colleagues from PERS who splice us the grid data, direct access to electricity and gas, and I can see many more alliances which are part of our ecosystem. Now, let me come and give you a very clear answer to the platform part. This is what we have built, right? To get you the answers to your questions like, hey, CSRD is coming. We don't want to embark on a long IT project. We want you to get to the real change very quickly. That is why we came up with the entire platform along with our process frameworks and fully templatized so you can do a plug and play thing. For example, the first data grabber. Our alliances helps you first to solve the data black holes. For example, within UK, if you want access to electricity data, gas data, we have on-demand access. We just need to know your meter point numbers and the data starts flowing in. Means we avoid you all the hassle to go through scanning the bills, going to a third party. That's the first acceleration. 2,000 different connectors are pre-made. Means if your data being lying in the likes of SAP, likes of Oracle, any system from your suppliers, that we have a direct connection. Or we have a very clear framework how to pull that in. That is one of the big acceleration. I remember for one of the big Spanish bank, we are decarbonizing, and that representation is also there on the behind. We were making a simple project. how to motivate the bankers not to bring the Range Rovers in a big HQ having 3,000. That was a problem statement which we picked up as part of this. You won't believe the project was running for 2 years and it was not even clear how many cars, where they come from, what is the footprint, and forget about the change. And it was around close to £1 million being put down on drain. And that's what we did. We put down the sensors, data starts streaming in, put down the turnstiles, another sensors, and start capturing the data and pushing the data into the platform within the 3rd to 4th week. Then the data coming to the data storage is an inbuilt, handling billions of transactions. Doesn't matter how complex your business is. If it's a corporate, multiple subsidiaries, multiple factories, multiple warehouses, that 2,000 plug-and-play connectors allows us to bring the data very quickly so we can start focusing on the rest of the journey and get the tracking part done. Then the complex ETL, all models kind of pre-built. The just variable layer is the first layer where the data would come from. Then all the scopes, scope 1, scope 2, scope 3, and now scope 4. That's also becoming quite important, and that also getting calculated. Then the disclosures, if you see, all of the basic disclosures, including CSRD, and now we are also working very closely with EU to see the compliance on the CSDDD. Those templates are pre-configured. Once we figure out where data assets are, we deploy plug and play, data starts coming in, pre-built models, and we start showing you your compliance on the disclosures. Our focus is for you all and for us all to get you over the step 1 of tracking so that we can start focusing on the real change. And that is where the stats needs to be, not the 5% getting stuck into the reporting. And that's where then the 360-degree view. We don't want just you to stop at disclosures on the regulatory frameworks. We need to start talking about now the change. And that is where we are working with our Israeli partners and bringing the latest LLMs, where we are training the models on every enterprise, what did they do in terms to bring the change. So that when you put your attributes to the platform, you already get the recommendations, which people have successfully done. So you can again take the shortest path. And that is where, if you see on the predict and proact, on the last third block, we have the smart recommendations, which allows you to take the right decisions and start focusing on the real interventions, getting you not stuck in step 1. With this, I rest my pitch. We have got other elements also, the process and the people part. And if you have got any interest, guys, we are outside, and I'll be very happy to have your chat. And I'm open for any questions and answers, please, if you may have.